Relay FM, this is Connected, episode 405. That's one episode more than 404, which was last week. Today's show is brought to you by some excellent, truly fine sponsors. Squarespace, Hover, Clean My Mac, X, and Memberful. And I'm so pleased to introduce Stephen Hackett. Welcome back, Stephen.
Hello, Federico. How are you?
I am doing excellent. Despite the heat wave that is ongoing for 2 weeks now in Rome, I'm fine, thanks to the AC, yes.
That's good. Yeah, it's really hot here as well. I think I sent y'all a text yesterday of the heat index. It was like 112 Fahrenheit, which is what, 44 C, I think? Brutal.
Don't like the sound of that.
Not good. I am joined not only by you, Federico, but a person who is well equipped to deal with the heat, Mr. Myke Hurley.
Sure am.
Oh, thank God. Okay, so
Well
Mike
equipped.
is here. Okay.
It is. I just wanted to point out something which is kind of funny. People might catch it if they listen to the Pro Show, which you can get at getconnectedpro.co. Federico said, "Welcome back" to Stephen, but in the timeline of the show, Stephen didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, it's weird.
Think about that.
Time is also weird. Time is a weird concept.
Mm-hmm. If you're looking to have your mind expanded, go to getconnectedpro.co. That's what we offer you this week.
Whoa.
Yep. Follow up.
Apple has cut trade-in prices again.
They have.
This keeps happening.
So a lot of the good products, they're down like $50, $500. They're down like
You
$50.
actually have to pay Apple
Yeah.
for them to take it.
Yeah, that's how it works now. Not me. There was a sale that occurred in my household. Adina managed it, of both of my iPad Pros. So I've sold all my iPad Pros now.
Oh no! So you're not a pro iPad user anymore.
I am a normie. I have a Mini and an Air. I'm a normie.
Yeah, because that's what normal people do. They have two iPads.
As I said before, regular guy over here. With my two iPads. Regular guy. Just I'm a man of the people. Regular guy with my iPad Air and my iPad Mini. And we got significantly more for each of these products than Apple would trade in. I think we got more for a 2018 iPad, selling it on eBay, than I would if I was trading in a 2020 iPad on the 11-inch. Because people want these products, so they will pay money for them. It's the kind of money Apple will sell you a refurbished product for. But as we've mentioned many times on the show, Apple don't want to give you any money to take it from you because they just don't want to do that. So if you're looking to trade stuff in, I don't recommend going via Apple still. I recommend find someone in your life to hand it down to, sell it on eBay, sell it on, I don't know, if Craigslist is a good place to sell these things, or your local electronics store or something like that. That would be my recommendation to you all.
I have some real-time follow-up.
Excellent.
And news. We previously talked about how Apple months ago sued the NSO Group, the creators of the Pegasus spyware tool. Yeah. Apple just announced a new feature coming out in the next beta of iOS 16, iPadOS, and Ventura, which I suppose, given the timing of this announcement, will be out any minute now. They have announced, now the name is kind of unfortunate given the pandemic, but this new feature is called Lockdown Mode.
Love it.
Lockdown Mode is a new extreme security feature that will block targeted attacks on high-profile individuals. This feature, and I'm now quoting Mark Gurman, there's a bunch of articles out already. This feature will severely limit messages, Safari, Apple services, and other endpoints that hackers usually rely on to attack an iPhone using tools like Pegasus. So lockdown mode will be, there are screenshots already that Apple provided some members of the press. It'll be available in settings, and it'll block incoming FaceTime calls, some Safari features, some Apple services, configuration profiles, a bunch of stuff. And it is designed for individuals who fear they may be targeted by cyber attacks on their iPhones.
So it basically makes the phone not as useful. Like, I don't mean this in a bad way, but like it takes away a bunch of features that could otherwise be used nefariously. So I'm looking at Apple's press release. Message attachment types are blocked. Link previews are disabled. Just-in-time JavaScript compilation and web browsing
Makes
is
sense.
disabled.
Yeah.
Invitations and services requests, FaceTime calls, as Federico mentioned. Wired connections with a computer or accessory cannot be used when the iPhone is locked, and configuration profiles cannot be installed. So this feels like a permanent thing, I guess, that you can put on and just take it off when you want to. How intriguing. They've also announced a $10 million grant to bolster research exposing such threats.
And I have some additional follow-up. iOS 16 Beta 3 is out.
Hooray! We'll install that during the
Right
episode and we'll see what happens. Maybe everything's about to change. Or nothing at all. Forget everything you know. MacBook Air orders. So we have some information here. Apple also announced, as we're recording today, MacBook Air will be available to order on July 8th, so on Friday, and it will start shipping next Friday on the 15th. There was something kind of funny, I think, about this, which I wanted to see what you guys thought. This is kind of happening the day before Apple announced this. MKBHD posted a video reviewing a new Asus phone, and he was scrolling through his calendar, and on the calendar had both the date of his briefing for the MacBook Air and the embargo. And
Oh no.
it's like,
no.
I'm surprised about this, honestly. Like, I know that a lot of people, I guess it's complicated, right? Like, I know that a lot of people that do this kind of stuff, I remember John Syracuse used to say this, I don't know if you do this, Federico, I don't think you do, is having, like, specific accounts that you use when taking screenshots and stuff, so you don't leak information in reviews.
Yeah. I don't do this, but I'm very careful with the annotation tools in screenshots to hide them. Yeah.
And it just seems like a funny thing for him to like show his calendar, like just for a million reasons. It's just surprising. This kind of thing was just, it's just, I guess it's just a mistake. It was obviously a mistake that he made, but like just like a funny little thing to happen. But like, it's one of those things where I think we were talking about this in chat and someone said like, he's going to get a call from Apple. But like, what I got to say to him, KBHD? You know what I mean? What are you going to say to him, right? Like, this isn't one of those situations where like you could imagine maybe in the old days or at some point people be like, oh, that's it. He's never going to get another one of these again.
Right.
But
he gizmodoed it.
But he's MKBHD. So this is a situation where they need him more than he needs them. So I would expect.
It's such an easy fix. Just have a calendar named Secrets and have that calendar turned off when you're videoing a phone. I bet that's what he does now.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he did that before, but like something just got messed up. Because this kind of thing has never happened before. And people are scrubbing through his videos all the time trying to find something,
Oh, definitely.
Friend of the show, Jeremy Burge, the namesake of the Jeremys, posted an image today of the MacBook Air page and showed took a screenshot of the USB-C to MagSafe cable that comes with the MacBook Air. Because we spoke about this before, but Apple has color matched these MagSafe cables to the MacBook Air design that you get. But Jeremy was upset about the fact that the MagSafe connector is color matched to the laptop, but the USB-C part that goes into the power brick is white. And I just wanted to know what the two of you thought about this.
Why?
So I saw some people say, well, the power brick is white.
But the rest of the cable is not.
I know, I think it should be also midnight.
Yeah, it should be.
I think it should be.
It feels like a leftover part, and they just decided that it was fine to use it. It looks weird. I agree.
Well, I mean, another example of this, I guess, is the IMAX cable, right? No, but the IMAX cable is white. So, sorry, the cable is yellow, but the connector is white, which is a similar thing. But it should be color matched. Stephen, what do you think?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
I'm going to take the opposite. I think white is fine because the power brick is white.
And
it helps you, easily identify which end is which in the dark or something.
Okay, so I've got two things here that I want to question you about what you just said, right? One, that the only way you think you could identify these easily is the color of them, even though they are a significantly different shape. And 2, you said the dark. So how's the color going to help you?
They're different shapes, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, then my primary reason is really just to argue with you, just for the sake of conversation.
That, you know what? Perfectly fine. This is as far as it goes for a primary reason.
It doesn't really bother me, but also I'm planning on ordering a silver one for a family member, so it's not like there's a big contrast there.
What about for you? Are you going to go on?
Well, so it's coming to me. I'm going to review it, and then
You're going to review
Mary's
a
going
cable?
to get an M2 Air. Well, no, I'm buying her a laptop.
Oh, I thought you were just talking about the cable.
Yeah. Hey, look, Federico was in the New York Times for a cleaning cloth. I think I can review a cable.
That was actually going to be my next question, if any of us were going to buy a MacBook Air.
Yes. So our current laptop situation in my house is I have the 14-inch MacBook Pro, which I absolutely adore. Mary has an M1 Air, and there is a 2018 Intel Air, so like the first Retina one that the kids use for school and games and stuff. And that machine, it's still a good laptop, but it's got a really small SSD in it, and anytime they do anything remotely punishing to it, it gets really loud with the fan. And so my plan was to order an M2 Air that would be Mary's. I'm going to review it, give it to her. The kids can use her M1 Air, and then I'm going to sell off that 2018 Intel Air for whatever I can get. Probably not very much because the Intel Mac market is in the toilet, but that's my plan. So I get one in for review, and then they'll cycle through the household.
Nice. I want to go see him. I think I'm going to be really, 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 really tempted by this computer. And my kind of like how I think my computer life is shaking out is starting to like settle a little bit, and I think potentially this could be a part of that, but I'm not 100% sure yet. But I have some ideas I'm working on. Federico, are you interested in a MacBook Air?
No, I think we're fine with the MacBook Pro,
Good with the Pro.
and yeah, I don't think I don't need it. I'm fine with the MacBook Pro. I'm fine with the iPad Pro. Sylvia needs a MacBook Pro anyway. We'll see in the future, like maybe once I have my new office space set up, maybe down the road I could consider a desktop Mac again, but not at the moment anyway.
Right.
I imagine these are going to be difficult to come by, especially if you do something that is custom ordered. So if you're in the market for one of these, I would get on it on Friday, after I order mine. So give me like 5 minutes, and then you can order yours.
Mm-hmm.
This episode of Connected is made possible by Squarespace. Squarespace is the all-in-one platform for building your brand and growing your business online. You can stand out with a beautiful website, engage your audience in a bunch of new ways, and sell anything, products, services, even content. Squarespace has you covered. With Squarespace, you can stand out with Squarespace email campaigns. You can encourage visitors to sign up as email subscribers and start them on the journey to becoming loyal customers. So you start with an email template and then customize it with your site colors and branding, and you get Squarespace's awesome built-in analytics to measure the impact of every email campaign. In addition to those analytics, Squarespace also has really cool SEO tools, so you can see what's going on your website. They even have really useful guides, because look, it's SEO stuff can be confusing, right? Some of these reports can get really detailed, and so they give you the information you need to really understand what is working and what's not working on your site. I love building on top of Squarespace. I've built a bunch of sites there over the years, and one of my favorite features is that you can expand a website really easily. So you may not need a blog on day one, but if you need one later on, it's really easy to add. You just build out the page, tell Squarespace that it's going to be a blog, and you're up and running within minutes without having to re-architect a bunch of stuff. Head on over to squarespace.com/connected for a free trial. There's no credit card required. And when you're ready to launch, use the offer code CONNECTED to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain name. Once again, that's squarespace.com/connected and the code CONNECTED to get 10% off your first purchase and to show your support for the show. Our thanks to Squarespace for their support of Connected and all of Relay FM.
Go to applehardwarecalendar.com. It's a great URL.
It's a little dated. This is not the name of it this year.
Yeah, but it's still hardware, though. You can't get away from that, no matter what you want to call it.
The calendar itself is hardware.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about, is the calendar, right? The calendar itself is, you know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about, like, the conception of a calendar. It's like the calendar itself.
I mean, what even is a calendar if you think about it?
Yeah,
right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like what is time?
And Federico, we need to appreciate Big Money Hackett making his return.
Mm-hmm.
Old Big Money Hackett over here. He launched a Kickstarter today with a $5,000 goal, and he's passed $12,000 already.
Wow.
Old Big Money Hackett's back, everyone. Stand back.
Just
Daddy
in time
Hackett.
for the summer.
when he gets his money trousers on.
Just in time to plan another vacation.
And he's going to build a second wing onto that pod cabin, you know? That's what he does. Congratulations, Steven.
Are you done mocking my hard work yet?
Yep, done. We're done. Maybe. I can't guarantee it, actually.
Yeah, so I'm back with the 2023 Apple History Calendar. So if you backed this last year or you heard us talking about it, last year I made a wall calendar. The top half of the calendar is product photography of my own, and then the bottom half of the calendar, instead of regular holidays that, you know, people appreciate, this was for us Apple nerds. And last year all the dates were dates in Apple's hardware history. So like the iBook came out this day, or this is when AirPods Max were announced, or this is when, you know, the HomePod was discontinued. Well, for 2023, I focused on software, so operating systems, first-party titles from Apple over the years, a bunch of weird 90s stuff. Like I mentioned this elsewhere, but I think my favorite date in the calendar is sometime in the 90s, Apple made this big press release about like, we're going to support the IMAP standard for future email products. Like, cool. Glad we got that. Understood. And so the dates are all software. All the dates are new. And I think if you enjoyed last year's, you're going to really enjoy this one too. And if you missed out last year, now's a great time. So the Kickstarter is up and running. It runs through August 5th, so it's 30 days. And you can get the calendar. You can get a digital version where you can like upload it to iCloud or Google and have all the dates. You can get digital wallpapers of the images. You can get stickers. There's a whole bunch of stuff.
The digital calendar still makes me laugh because for me last year it was like a ghost, because you asked me to install it to test it for you, and I installed it, but I didn't actually want that on my digital calendar. I was going to get the hardware, like the actual physical calendar. And for like 3 weeks, it just kept enabling itself. Like I would remove the calendar and it kept coming back. And I would know it came back because all this stuff would get added to my calendar, and I started getting notifications of like, oh, did you know that this was the day that the 20th anniversary of Macintosh was released? It's like, no, I don't want it. I got the calendars coming. That'll be fine for me. It took a while to get rid of that.
One of my favorite things over the last year, it really has brought me like real happiness, is I get tweets and stuff on the first of every month from people turning the page over. So like on the campaign, I don't share all of the images, and that is on purpose, because my idea is you're going to flip through this calendar throughout the year and see a new image, you know, every month. And I think that slow exploration of it is a lot of fun.
And everyone's synced up too, which is cool, right? Like everyone's experiencing it at the same time.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool like community thing. And I know sometimes on your Keyboard Club streams, you've like turned the calendar on stream, which is really cool.
This is how it always happens, because I always forget, and then someone on stream says to me, you haven't changed the calendar, and then I go change the calendar and experience the image.
That's great.
That tends to be how it goes for me. I got like 3 days of the June image because I just wasn't here for all of June.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, look, there it goes, and it's gone again.
Yeah,
this is awesome. I'm really pleased you're doing it again. I know that you were apprehensive because of the hard work that it was last time. But I know I'm really pleased that you're doing it again, because I think it's a great thing that exists. And I know that you've done a lot of work on making sure that the logistics are streamlined, which is also really good, because I know it kind of took over your life last year.
Yeah, the tiers are a little bit simpler. So like one thing that is lacking this year are the 4x6 prints. If you really want them, there'll be an opportunity to get them at the end of the campaign when I send out a survey via BackerKit. But my impression talking to people, the photos were like the least popular item, and they were the most work to pack because of the way they came printed, and I had to collate them all, and like it was a lot of hands-on time with that. And so it kind of made sense in wanting to simplify things and keep the costs or keep the prices the same. Actually, they're a little bit less than last year because the printing costs and the shipping costs have gone up. Like the calendars are way more to print this year, and I didn't want to pass that on or like make all the tiers more expensive. And so it kind of made sense to me. And Mike, you and I talked a lot about this, about the 4x6 prints kind of being moved to like an optional thing at the end. So if you really want those, they will be available at the end of the campaign. And I'll share links about that, as the time comes in early August. But I'm really excited about it. And I've been working on this since February in terms of the research and the photography and everything. And I'm really excited for people to get it in their hands later this year. So I'd love it if you'd go check it out.
It's better this time than when last time you had the idea in July, then launched the Kickstarter campaign, and then did all the work, right? So this time, way better way of doing it,
Yeah. Last year, it was a really busy summer, and that led to some of the apprehension about doing it again. And so one of my things this year, talking with the two of you and with John and with Mary and some other people, like, how do I spread this out over the year where the day-to-day of impact is just a lot more manageable? And like when fulfillment comes, this is going to be busy, and I understand that. But part of it was I wanted to decide early in the year if I was going to do it again so I could start on the research, because that is extremely time-consuming. And all the dates are selected. I actually just got it back last week from a fact checker, and we're going through and making sure everything's good. So it has been well underway, and it will. I think it's going to be a real treat for those who back it.
Awesome, really, really happy, and I can't wait to see just how big this campaign goes. I hope that it smashes last year. So
so far it's moving faster. So we will see what happens.
That makes sense though, because of the way that Kickstarter campaigns kind of start when you've done it more than once, and they move more quickly. Because like something that happened to many people, I'm sure, is I got an email telling me that it had launched because I backed your last one. Like that's kind of how
from
it goes.
Kickstarter, not from me.
From Kickstarter, they do that. Yep.
Yeah, you sent me a screenshot, and I was like, oh, look at that. And so if you're repeating, thank you. And I'm really excited about it. I woke up this morning like itching to push the button.
Yeah, I bet. Federico, I installed iOS 16 on my iPhone.
Finally. Okay.
Yep, I did it.
Okay.
I just pressed restart to install Beta 3 on my iPhone, so I'll see what happens when that comes up. And I'm going to expect that, Stephen, I know you've done it too. Was it because I said I was doing it? Is that why you did it? Did I push you over the edge?
No, I think we basically started it simultaneously.
Look at that. Beautiful.
Like, oh, we're doing it. I wasn't going to do it when I was out of town last week. So I'm running it as well. And I think we got to talk about the lock screen, right? Because it's cool, but there's definitely some weird edges to it.
Of course, this is all Beta 2 impressions.
Right.
Right? But there was a couple of things that I noticed, and I wonder if you guys had the same kind of experiences. So one, at least in Beta 2, way harder to set your home screen wallpaper now. Like, it seems like the system always wants to just, like, change both of them or, like, do it all together. So that was a bit weird. I expect that that's a bug, though. You press a button to customize it, it just doesn't do anything. I ended up doing it, like, going around the system enough, and I got it. One of the big things about the iOS 16 lock screen is the kind of the depth effects that it's doing. And this is where, like, if you put an image of a person, it, like, tucks the time behind their head or whatever, right? Now, here's my issue with this. Like, I had a nice picture of Adina that I put on the lock screen, and then, like, the time kind of went behind her head a little bit, and it looked kind of nice, very artistic. But then I wanted to put a complication on, and it just put it on top of her forehead. And so it's like,
Yeah, that's where they go. Yeah,
but that doesn't make any sense to me. To then you do the obscuring of the time, but then the complication, bang, on the head. But the biggest issue I have with the complications, so you have that that block underneath the time, right, where you can put a few up there, but you can't choose where they go in that. So I put 2 on there, and I wanted them to be left aligned, but no, it put 1 on the left and 1 on the right.
Yeah, you can change the order, but the spacing is kind of like the iOS dock, where it kind of just does what it wants to do.
And I found that annoying because then I wanted to have the image and then have the complications on the left, so none of the complications covered Adina's head. It just, I don't know, I just found it weird. But what I will say in general, though, I set it up with a different image in the end. I actually used the one that I used before, which is like a cartoon kind of thing that Adina drew. And when you have it set up with the little widgets and you customize the font and the colors and stuff, it just doesn't look like iOS anymore. And I don't mean this in a bad way, but it's going to take some getting used to for me because the iOS lock screen, the fundamentals of it, have looked the same for a really, really long time, right? The way the time looks and all that kind of stuff and just what's there and then the notifications are there. It's going to take some time to get used to, I think. I don't know if either of you two have felt that it feels uncanny in a way.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. What I was struck with is how boring the iPad feels now.
Yeah.
Because it's not there. And that's a bit frustrating. Now, if you use, an iPad in a keyboard case, maybe you just don't see the lock screen very much, but I guess it's going to be next year. I don't think they're going to get to it this year, but I would like to see them do something with the iPad lock screen. For me, I think where the iPhone lock screen falls down a bit, and this is purely because we're in beta land, is just that the current complications that are available to you are very limited, and including Apple's. Apple has some weather ones and they got some clock ones, but very limited customization of those. And so I think that this will be a real opportunity for developers to really make this shine. And that's what I'm excited to see, once those start rolling out later this year. But some of the fiddliness I think could be beta. One thing I don't really like is the mechanism to place the image on the lock screen. It's pinch to zoom, but it's also pinch to move. There's something really weird about the gestures they're using there. I can't quite figure out what it's trying to do. It's a little bit odd.
Because you can't just with one finger move it around. You have to always be pinching. Yeah, I know what you mean.
And there've been several times when I'm editing and then I'll scroll up from the bottom to exit the edit mode, and it doesn't save the changes, because to save the changes you have to hit the done button. And I've done it 4 times because I could just keep tinkering with it. And I'd like that mechanism to change. I think it's easy to accidentally set it up perfectly, and then you swipe away kind of naturally because that's what you do on the lock screen, and then all your work just disappears.
I do think that the whole system takes a bit of time to get used to, especially with the font options and the colors, and the fact that you can even access a color picker from the lock screen now.
Yeah.
There's obviously, it's kind of strange. There's obviously a ton of choice, and they're going after the same sort of feeling, I think, that they successfully created with iOS 14, right? Total control of your home screen, and now in this case, total control of your lock screen. I do find it hard to judge right now because of the lack of third-party widgets, obviously. And I'm using the clock widget for to keep an eye on time zones, and I'm using the reminders widget to see a summary of my reminders on the lock screen. But I do feel a lot of the value will have to wait for third-party apps to start offering widgets. And when that happens, I want to see how useful they will actually be for me. Because like I can imagine that having a real-time timery widget will be super useful for me to keep an eye on my current timer if that will actually be real time. So like there's a performance consideration that needs to wait for when third parties actually get their hands on this. My only concern right now is that these are glanceable widgets. Once again, these are meant to be glanceable. They're not interactive. The glanceable widgets on the home screen kind of got boring after a while for me. Now, on the lock screen, I think it makes more sense to have glanceable information there. Right now, what I'm really excited about is the live activities, like those interactive. Well, that's another discussion there, because they will be interactive for Apple apps, not for third-party developers. But even then, the live activities they're still going to be good. At least they will give a much more choice in terms of designing custom UIs and all that kind of stuff. But those are not coming with the launch of iOS 16 anyway. So those are coming later. Yeah, those are coming later. So we'll have to see. I want to see, I think I'm okay with these widgets being glanceable once again. If anything, they make more sense to be glanceable on the lock screen than the home screen. But I think we need to wait for third-party developers.
Yeah. There is a fundamental problem with the glanceability, though. And I understand why they did it. But some of Apple's widgets or complications on the lock screen don't show the information until your phone sees your face. And so, for instance, I have the one above the time that has the short date and the next calendar event, which I really, really like at the top of my lock screen. But if it's on I have a MagSafe charging thing on my desk, and it's, an arm's reach away. I can see my phone screen, but because of the way the phone is, it can't see my face. So if I glance down and the screen happens to be on, it just says face too far away. And I understand why that is. It's like a privacy thing. So someone just picks up your phone and they're not you. It's not going to show them your next calendar event. But that does introduce some friction to the glanceability, I think. And maybe there'll be a third-party calendar widget that doesn't do that. And, I'll just switch to that because I don't have anything super sensitive. I'm not MKBHD here leaking my calendar stuff. So that is a thing when you're setting this up. The other one I noticed was the activity ring.
Well, you can just change your settings, right? This is a settings thing.
It may be.
Because mine doesn't do that. But when your phone is locked without Face ID, does it obscure notifications?
I don't think so. I don't know. I need to look at that.
Okay.
It's installing beta 3 right now. But the other one I noticed it on was activity. And I noticed that one because the rings are grayed out. And then I look at my phone and they pop, bright white or whatever the color is I'm using. And that was a little bit jarring. But overall, even in just a couple of days of using beta 2, I really like this feature. And I think people are really going to love the customization. And I expect that we'll see, people, third-party developers really pushing what's possible. And one thing that I hadn't really, I don't think we talked about it, I haven't really heard much talk about it, is you can do your own, but Apple also has a lot of lock screen themes. And one that I think is really cool is the weather one. So it sets your wallpaper to the current weather where you are. So I was playing with it last night. And set that on. I was just looking at my phone, like a shooting star went across it. They're doing these things. I can't wait to see it when there's if it ever rains here again. But there's different ones you can do. There's one that's an emoji one where you can select multiple emoji and the grid or the style they're in. So Apple's done a lot of work on their own, which I think is really cool. And it makes me. It makes me so sad for the Apple Watch. Seeing what Apple can do here, when they really put their full force behind it, is why can't you do more of this with Apple Watch faces? Because they are very similar in terms of both technology and sort of it's the topmost layer of interface. And this feels so vibrant and alive and exciting. And the Apple Watch just makes me sad with its watch faces.
That you know what that says to me, right? It is the idea of these teams not working with each other is what that would appear to be to me, right? The lock screen team had this great idea about a weather lock screen, which would also be a really good weather watch face. But those teams work together, maybe they would make that together. But then what it ends up happening is like the Apple Watch team looks at it and goes, "That's a really great idea," and then they'll put it in the next version of WatchOS.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if that's the case, but like it sometimes seems like that, right?
I know there are technical differences too. Like the weather one may not be great for the watch for other reasons, like refresh rate or battery life. There are different constraints on the watch.
Sure.
But holistically, what we've gotten from the lock screen feels like a much more like thought through idea and set of features than what we get sometimes on the Apple Watch.
Yep.
I have some real-time follow-up on what is new in iPadOS 16 Beta 3.
Yep.
I was just tweeting this a few minutes ago. So there's big changes to the multitasking menu in Beta 3 and some improvements to Stage Manager as well. So the multitasking menu on the iPad has been completely redesigned. It is no longer just a small pill-shaped sort of pop-up with icons. It is now a context menu with icons and text labels. So all the options have text labels now. You have zoom, which basically fills, basically makes the window bigger to fill the screen. It's called zoom. You have add another window. That's the plus button. And you have minimize. Minimize basically removes the current window from the stage, from the current workspace, and puts it back in the recent apps on the left. But that's not all. They have a close button now. So that was actually my very first feedback that I filed a couple of weeks ago for Beta 1, I believe. You now have a proper way to close windows from Stage Manager. And you can actually do it a couple of ways. You can use this close button, or you now have the same behavior as on macOS. Command W now closes a window.
Oh, yes, that's what I wanted, the shortcut key.
They even have a fancy animation, like a fancy 3D animation where the window flips on itself and it closes. So that's pretty cool. There are some other improvements to Stage Manager as well. Now, if you hover with the pointer over a window thumbnail on the left, sort of the other windows in the workspace, they sort of push to the right to show you the full tray on the left side. So you can hover and the window kind of like, it's like, oh yeah, let me make room for the apps on the left. So that's cool. And they have, and this is the big news, this is something that I was complaining about a couple of weeks ago, that weird window picker that they had before is gone. And I was sure that like the way that you used to be able to see multiple windows from the same app, it was a leftover from iOS 15. It was too strange. It took you to this very old iPadOS 13 like expose view. That's gone. Now, if you right click on an icon in the dock and you select show all windows, all the windows from the app will be displayed to you in Stage Manager. So on the left side, instead of seeing all your recent apps, you will see, for example, all your Safari windows. So it's much more integrated with the Stage Manager UI. They're basically getting rid of one extra UI that was there before. So now when you want to see all the windows from an app that supports multiple windows, now that integrates with the Stage Manager sort of tray on the left side of the screen.
Right.
And I'm sure there will be a bunch of other things. Usually in Beta 3, that's when you have a bunch of changes. But I can tell you, Steven, something that will make you really happy.
Yeah, I just
now
saw
in
this.
Settings, in settings reminders, there's a new setting for you.
Under badge count, it says include due today.
They did it.
They did it.
They
I read
did
this
it.
blog
For you.
post.
They did it for you.
Thank
They
you,
did it for you,
Reminders
man.
team.
You're
Thank you,
changing the
Reminders
world.
team.
I would just like to give real-time follow-up that I had nothing to do with, but I just checked it. They fixed the thing so you can now more easily independently change the home screen wallpaper. That was a bug. They fixed it. But let's just everybody take a moment and thank Stephen for them adding the setting. Thank you, Stephen. And, also thank you to the.
If you're glad they did it, go buy a calendar. So this setting,
Wow, big money hacket strikes again.
this setting is called. It's called include due today. Include both overdue and due today items in badge count. So now the badge will match the today smart list automatically if you turn this on. That means that any task due today, regardless of time of day, will show up in the badge. This is exactly what I wanted. This is how every other task manager works, or at least they have an option for it.
Mm-hmm.
It was in a beta, I think, last year for a little while, then went away. I'm so glad that it's here. I hope that it sticks. This really, honestly, like this was the last thing keeping me from using reminders full time. I use it actually quite a bit for like ephemeral stuff. Like, hey, like the other day, Johnny did something from me, and I wasn't where I could do it. And I said, hey, remind me in 1 hour of this using Siri. And it put a link to that iMessage in reminders and it reminded me in an hour. I love all the system integration stuff, but the lack of a due badge based on the date was killing me. There's a blog post about it. You can go read that I wrote at WWDC. So I'm super excited to see this. It's all coming up. Hack it today.
Yep.
So I had a realization for one of the new reminders features, specifically the ability to create templates that you can share with people, right? In iOS 16. I want to hear what you guys think of this approach. So in iOS 16 in reminders, you can now create reusable templates for checklists. And you can create one, you can create a link, and you can send the link to somebody else, and somebody else can install that checklist, that template on their reminders app. Now, one of the things you guys know about me that other people in the audience also, I think, know about me is that very often I get an email or I get a Twitter DM from someone who says, hey, I'm coming to Italy for my honeymoon, for a wedding, for vacation. Can you give me advice on places to stay, places to see, restaurants to eat, things to do? Like, I get these kinds of emails, especially in the summer, a lot. Like, couple of emails a week, almost. So I thought, obviously, like, I'm sad because I cannot reply to everybody here. And also, it's a very, that kind of email is a very long email to respond to because, like, where are you going? Are you coming to Rome? What's your budget? What kind of things are you into? But I had an idea. What if, to test this feature for my iOS 16 review, I finally sit down and I take a couple of hours and I just do it. And I create a reusable checklist in reminders for all kinds of things you can do and see and restaurants to eat at in Rome. And I do that once and I set it up. And then the next time somebody emails me and they're asking for advice on what to do in Rome, I just send them to the link to that checklist in reminders. The bonus there, like the advantage, is that reminders, I think, is actually great for this because it supports image attachments, rich links, subtasks. So I could have like this list actually like nicely laid out with like map links, and you have the preview, or there could be photos like go here. Like there could be a bunch of information inside the individual reminders. I think that's one way to test this feature and save time and make my readers happy, because now I can just reply to everybody and say, here, that's the link for you.
I have a question for you. That does sound really interesting. My question for you is, can't you do this with maps? Like, can't you create those like
Yes,
groups?
I can, but maps is just maps. Like I cannot type anything.
You can't say
it's just
you need to go here because of
No.
this. Yeah, right.
No.
I see. Yeah.
No.
That makes sense then, because you said you could include maps links, right, in the stuff.
Yeah, I can include them, or I can include links to websites or notes for people. Like if you go to this place and they try to sell you on, I don't know, on like a special parking spot, don't, because it's a scam. Like those little bits of advice that you need to know when you visit Rome, they try to upsell you on everything if you're a tourist. I can do that.
And question. I mean, again, probably everybody knows this by now by listening to the show. I've been looking. I just opened Twitter to see if anyone was talking about it, but it doesn't seem like Stage Manager on any other iPads. Like, I feel like this is the thing that I'm just going to want to keep checking in on until the final version. That they've not expanded Stage Manager for non-M1 iPads, right? Doesn't seem like that's the case.
I am not seeing anything on that.
I figure we would have heard about it by now, right? Within 15 minutes of the thing being released.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't seem like it. But this is just something that, it's an interesting thing to keep track of. We obviously spent a lot of time talking about it on this show, but my thought was if they were going to do it, they would probably do it now. But it seems like they haven't.
Yeah, and seems like they're just not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Hover, one of Relay FM's longest-running sponsors. When you have that big idea, where do you go? Where do you start? What is step one? Well, your business starts with a domain name, so people can find you, they can learn about you, they can get in touch. For many entrepreneurs, Hover is that first big leap, because they have over 300 domain name extensions to choose from. So no matter what you want to build, there's a domain name waiting for you. They have excellent technical support to answer any questions you may have, and they're dedicated to getting you online, not upselling you. One thing I really appreciate about Hover, and I think you will too, is that the user experience is intuitive, simple, clean, and easy to navigate. They're not trying to trick you into things you don't need. They just want you to have a great experience buying and managing your domain name. That's been the case for me for years. All of my domains are at Hover. It's really easy to manage them, see what their renewal dates are, forward them other places, deal with DNS records. Hover makes it all fantastic. They also have monthly sales on popular top-level domains, and they have free Whois privacy so the bad guys don't get your information. Buy your domain and start using it today. You want to go to hover.com/connected, and you'll get a 10% discount on all new purchases. The URL one more time is hover.com/connected. Make a name for yourself with Hover. Our thanks to Hover for their support of the show and Relay FM.
It is quiz time, gentlemen.
Oh, boy.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Quiz time. So, over the last number of weeks, I've been requesting connected listeners to fill in a survey called Do You Know the Passionate Ones? 1,200 connected listeners
Oh, my God.
filled out the
1,200?
survey to my questions, which was many more than I was expecting and has taken me a really long time. So I have round one of this quiz, 5 questions that we're going to be going through today. This is a Family Feud, aka Family Fortunes style quiz that we're going to be doing here. Let me explain how this is going to work. So, I will be asking you the question that I asked the passionate ones. So, for example, I may ask them, what is your favorite podcast? May have been, it wasn't, but this could have been one of the things in the quiz. And so then, connected listeners, they answer that question. Your goal is to guess which is the top most answer that connected listeners would give to the question, what is your favorite podcast? I have taken the top 5 answers that you can score
Wait,
points
when you say
for.
when you say your, who's the you in
The
your?
listener. So the quiz is for listeners. Listeners answered with their answers to the questions that I gave. I think I gave 20.
So we're trying to guess what we think our listeners say their favorite podcast is.
Correct.
Okay, so not what our
Not what your
favorite
favorite
podcast
podcast
is.
is. What the aggregate of these 1,200 people that answered, what is the thing that they are most likely to have answered to the question, what is your favorite podcast? So you are trying to get in the mind of the listener, right? So for example,
Climb into the passionate ones.
exactly, you got to climb into the brains of the passionate ones, kind of stretch out in there and see what's going on, shake some trees, see what answers fall out. Now we're going to, as you know, right so far, the score between the two of you is Stephen has 12 points, Federico has 11 points. Now, the scoring here is quite different. The top answer in any round, you will get 50 points.
Whoa!
What?
The second answer, 40 points. Third, 30 points. So this is if you...
Wait, what?
Okay, so again, this is complicated. We're going to go through this. It's fine. I know that Steven's played this kind of game before. Federico, I don't think you have. So we're going to walk through this together. It's no problem. There are 5 answers. I've taken the top 5 most given answers from the 1,200 responses that I gave. And from 5 to 1, they are given 50 points, 40 points, 30 points, 20 points, 10 points. You are each going to get 3 opportunities to make a guess.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I'm going to say 3. I might give you more. I'm going to see how it goes for the first round. We're working this out as we go along, right? Because there are 5 answers. There's 2 of you. So in theory, in 3, if you had a clean round, one of you doesn't get that last pick. That might be how it goes. Or you might be so off base that we might want to do like 4 picks each, right? We're going to work that out as we go along. But there are many points on offer available here. But don't worry. We're probably going to do 4 rounds of this quiz in total. Because I have 5 questions for you today. There were 20 in total. The game here is you are trying to anticipate what our audience may answer to a given question. Is that understood?
Okay. Yes.
Right?
What
You
the
can feel free.
audience okay.
Yes.
Okay.
You can feel free to ask me questions as we go through. There are some qualifiers that I will need to give for some of the rounds, and I'll explain those as we go. Now, I'm going to do, to try and decide who goes first, I'm going to do a coin flip, and then it will go for the rest of the game in that order, right? But actually, I'll flip it each round is a better way to do it. So say, like, if Steven picks first in the first round, Federico will pick first in the second round. Actually, well, again, we'll work this out. So I'm going to let you guys choose here. So I can either do it that way, or I can do it that the person with the least amount of points can score first in the next round. Which would you prefer?
I like the chaos of the coin flip.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. So before each round, we'll do a coin flip as to who will answer the question first.
Okay.
So one last time as a recap, this is what the game is. I will ask you a question. For example, what is your favorite podcast? You have to guess what do the connected listeners, what are they most likely to answer? There are 5 potential answers that you can score points for. The top answer gets you 50 points, then 40, 30, 20, 10 for those 5 answers. We'll give you at least 3 guesses each, and then we'll move on to the next round. Are we all good?
Okay. Yes.
All right. So first off, it's time for a coin flip. I guess this is where we find out how well Dice by Peacock works on the beta. Who could tell?
P-Dice.
Right? P-Dice.
It's heads.
James seemed to have got in there real quick and he enabled the Triple J mode.
Oh, no.
That was James that said heads. But I also didn't ask either of you to call, so that was a terrible wasted coin flip.
I was getting ready to say,
Yes,
I wanted to know how far you were going to go before
we're really
realizing it.
I'm going to say Steven is heads, Federico is tails. We're going to go that way.
Okay.
All right? Okay, we're going to flip again.
Heads.
Boom.
Okay.
Okay.
So, first question is, now, just give me a minute before you answer. The first question is to the passionate ones. What was your first Apple product? Now, I got 1,200 answers that were all written by hand to this answer. So,
I love you, Mike. Can I
I
just
had
say,
to
like,
go through all of these.
Thank you, Mike.
yeah, thank you. I can't imagine how many hours you spent doing this.
The first 5 questions took 2.5 hours to compile.
And if there's a tie or there's something that comes up, I hope you remember how thankful I am to you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So, to make this an answerable question, we are going for this question, for the answers are product classes. These are not model years, sizes, or variations within a model by processor. So, for example, if Apple made a product called the MacBook Studio, that's all I want to know. I don't want to know 13-inch MacBook Studio, 16-inch MacBook Studio. I don't want to know 2020 Retina MacBook Studio, right? I don't want any of that. This is just product names. So bear that in mind, right? that, this could be spanning across gosh knows how many years. I'm looking for a product class. Steven, you have the first guess too. What was your first Apple product?
See, this is really a question about the age of our audience more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say the iPod Touch.
Steven, that is the third most popular answer, for which you score 30 points.
Boom.
Federico, Steven said iPod Touch.
Okay. I am going to say MacBook Pro.
Federico, that answer is not in the top 5 answers given by connected listeners.
Wow.
Okay.
Off to a rough start.
I'm sorry about that. So,
That's
Steven,
surprising to me.
we're going to go back around to you now. This is the question of what was the first Apple product from the connected listeners. What is your second guess?
MacBook Air.
Steven? That is also not in the top 5 answers given.
We got a bunch of Mac Pro listeners out here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, Federico, we're going to go for your second answer now.
I'm torn between two,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to say iPhone.
Federico? That is the 4th most popular answer. What? You get 20 points.
Okay.
So we've just iPod Touch, MacBook Pro, MacBook Air, iPhone have all been picked.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go iPod Mini.
Steven? That is not on the list here. It's not in the top 5.
Come on!
Okay,
what I have learned now is the idea of 3 rounds. No, we're just going to keep going for a while until we get through a bunch of them, and then we go for a couple more rounds, and if nobody answers, I'll cut you off.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're worse than this than you thought we'd be, is what you're saying.
No, I'll actually tell you right now, this was the most surprising round, I think, for me.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to go with iPod Classic, meaning like the standard iPod.
Federico, iPod is the top answer. You get 50 points.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I did combine iPod, iPod Classic, video iPod. That's just iPod, right? I just put those all in one thing. They're the iPod. I also included the many U2 iPods that were included in here. Just for fun.
Wait, how many U2 iPods?
There was a handful, but there really were. I can't believe that was at least, I think, 5 people's first Apple product was the U2 iPod to my memory.
I want to
meet
those people.
Because I have this information. iPod was 22% of the overall answer.
Okay.
Wow.
So, Stephen, we're going back around to you now. Federico's in the lead with 70 points.
I'm going to stay on this.
30.
I'm going to stay on this iPod train and say iPod Nano.
Stephen, that is the second topmost answer, netting you 40
Nice.
points. There is just one answer left on the board.
Which, can you repeat the order again?
Top answer was iPod, then iPod Nano, iPod Touch, then iPhone.
So number 5 is the one that is missing?
Yeah, the 10 points.
Interesting.
Okay.
Okay.
Came to me.
I'm gonna trust my gut here and say iPad.
Federico, that is also not in the answers here.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you both one more round.
Okay.
So you get one more pick each on this one.
Okay. I'm going to pick MacBook.
Stephen? That is not in the top 5
No!
answers.
Okay. And
Federico?
I'm gonna pick iMac.
Federico? That is also not in the top
What?
5 answers. Now, I will tell you why I gave you one more round each. I had to check the math on this about 20 times. The fifth most popular answer,
Oh,
garnering
it's the Mac
10
Mini, isn't it?
points, was the Apple II.
Oh, man.
Oh my. Oh, okay.
I like it.
53
okay.
people
That's awesome.
said
Wow.
a version of the Apple II was their first Apple
Wow.
So
That's
we
good.
have children
Okay.
and really old people. That is all we have as our audience. You either one or the other.
I love it. I love it. I
Right?
love it. Okay.
Isn't that
That's good.
bananas?
Could you, if you have this available, could you round out the top 10? If you don't have it, that's fine. I'm just curious.
I can roughly give it to you. So
That's fine.
iPod Nano, iPod Touch, iPhone, Apple II, iPod Shuffle, iPod Mini, and then iMac.
So wow, so it's a ways
And
down before you get to a
then-
Mac.
PowerBook after that.
Wow.
Oh, and also Macintosh Classic.
Okay. That is
Yeah.
this is useful information to have. Okay.
It is. It's amazing to me. I mean, I remember during the iPod time, people spoke about the halo effect. Like that's the first Apple device that people get.
Yep.
I mean, at least in our audience, that's 100% true, right? Like the iPods dominate that list.
And then the Apple II. I
And
can't
the
believe
Apple-
that's the
I
first.
love that so much.
That's the first computer
That's
In-
so good.
in the list.
Yeah. Well,
Right?
That's a good computer.
Isn't that wild?
It is. That's
And it's by a big number. The Apple II was 4.8%. The next Mac that shows up is the MacBook Pro, which I think I said that incorrectly. It was the MacBook Pro, not the Macintosh Classic, at 3.7%. So there was still quite a jump. I couldn't believe it. I was convinced that I'd done something wrong because it just didn't make any sense to me, that divide. Like it's 3 iPods, an iPhone, and the Apple II.
I love that so much.
Right?
That's so good.
That's incredible.
So at the end of the first round, you were tied at 70 points each.
Wow.
Whoa. I have goosebumps.
The next question is, what operating system did you use in your school years?
What does school years mean?
This was a question. So you remember I mentioned I was getting a lot of people asking for clarifying questions?
Is it this
This
one?
was what they were referring to. But my whole point is I just want you to answer that however, whatever you
okay.
think that means. So that's part of the fun for me. That's the meta game. What do people think that means, right?
Okay.
Now, again, like the last one, I'm looking for overall OS names. I'm not looking for years, variations of a name, or unique names for OS versions.
So, okay. Well, let's flip a coin and we can figure this out. I had a question, but I don't want to play my hand.
Yep, I think that's a good way to do it. This one was really hard for me to accurately say without giving it away, right? What the kind of answers will be. So Steven's heads again, I'm going to say.
Heads.
And it goes to Steven again.
Boom.
You can ask a clarifying question. I may or may not answer it.
Is Mac OS 10 one entry or about 18 different entries?
Yeah. Like, do we need to say leopard, snow
No, I've
leopard,
combined
tiger?
Okay.
Oh, so
That's what I meant by variations
what's the
of names.
question? What's the question again?
What operating system did you use in your school years? And I got
Yeah.
28 answers
Okay.
after the combining. So
Okay. So there's some BOS people in there probably. God
I
bless
don't
them.
know. Can't tell you yet.
I'm going to go with Mac OS 10.
That is the second highest answer. The combination name of Mac OS garners Stephen 40 points.
I guess I'm gonna go with Windows.
Windows is the top answer at 50 points. This was not a surprise to me.
Yep.
Wait until you hear this. Variations of Windows comprised 52.5% of the answers.
Whoa.
Mac OS, 31.
Yeah, I was playing just the Apple game. Federico, you outsmarted me on that.
Yep.
Because we have the switchers, right? We have the switchers who said the first device was the iPod.
And
Yep.
also, who had Mac OS at school? If you were
Yeah.
answering this question of
Yep.
what was in school,
I mean, I did, but most people didn't probably. So Federico's playing Galaxy Brain level, and I'm over here. He's playing chess, and I'm playing checkers. This is what
That's
I've
how it's
learned.
going so far.
So I go next. So is the so I want to pick a mobile operating system, but have this audience to consider. I'm going to say iOS.
iOS, you say.
iOS.
Stephen, iOS is not in the top 5 answers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm gonna go.
Just do it. I know what you're going to say.
No. I'm torn between two. The thing is, I don't know if Myke combined them. I'm gonna go with DOS.
The third most popular answer was DOS.
Yes.
Federico, 30 points.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Makes sense.
That puts Federico at 150 points to Stephen's
Yes,
110.
So I need
Still a lot
to
to play
really
for.
nail this one.
There's a lot to play for. We've got 3 more rounds.
Okay, that makes
3
me
more
feel a little
questions
better.
today. 3 more questions today.
Android.
Android is not on the list,
Um,
Stephen.
Yeah.
Back to Federico.
I'm gonna go with. I'm assuming you combined all of them, so I'm gonna go with Linux.
It is indeed the year of Linux, as Federico gets 20 points for the
Oh,
fourth most
Why you keep
popular
picking mobile
answer.
operating systems?
I don't know.
Yeah, Stephen, that was a really not good idea. I don't know why you went with Android after striking out iOS. There is one item left on the board here. I'm going to give you both one answer, and then I'm going to give you a clue
After we give our answers?
for one more round.
Okay.
Well, you're going to get one more round. You're going to get a clue if neither of you get it, and then you get one more round each.
So we've picked Windows, Mac OS 10.
You have picked Windows, Mac OS, DOS, and Linux. And iOS and Android, but they don't score.
But they don't make it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's WebOS.
What else is there
What else
beyond
is there?
Windows, Mac, and Linux?
I mean, there's
and
weird
DOS?
stuff. I mean, there's lots of weird OSs out
Okay,
there.
this isn't the clue, but you're going to have to get weird to get this.
You know what? I'm going to get weird.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say this is either going to be brilliant or it's going to sound stupid as soon as I say it. But I'm going to say OS 2.
And I'm gonna go with what's the name?
You both just not letting me on telling me, right?
No,
you don't
I
want
think
him
we
to
both
know?
put our answers down. Just, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Go, Federico.
I'm gonna go with what's the name of the thing that you had to print on physical paper?
Like
with the
punch
dots.
cards?
Punch cards. I'm gonna go with punch cards.
I have okay, so it's not OS2. Right? I'm going to make a judgment call here,
Okay.
and I'm going to give this to Federico.
It's
What?
Unix, isn't it? It's Unix.
No, because
No?
I combined a bunch of answers into what I'm calling none. There was a large amount of our audience that gave some variation of there being no actual computer operating system that they used.
Or like
And I'm
using
gonna say that-
Fortran or stuff like
Well,
that.
it was like slide rule, pen and paper. I had some punch
Yeah.
cards in there, and I combined these all into none for 10 points. And I'm going to say that Federico, with the answer of punch cards, would qualify to get in that none category.
It's
Thank you.
it's those Apple II people kicking around.
My
Yeah,
what
it's-
I was going to say to you as my clue was consider the last answer of the last
Yeah.
round.
Yeah.
So just to give you some extra, we had 2 people that said Unix. We had it was 26 people that said none.
Did OS 2 even make it on the list?
No. 12 people said iOS. 6 people said Chrome OS.
Chrome OS.
Yeah.
Oh, I should.
Those are the
Eight.
children.
People said Amiga
Yeah.
OS.
Amiga
Nice.
OS, yes.
We
Nice.
had 8 Basic.
Basic. Okay.
Yeah. I think OS2 is IBM mainframe OS, right?
What? Oh no, OS2 was like a joint thing between Microsoft and IBM.
Okay. Well, nobody
Yeah.
gave me any version of that.
What about BOS?
BOS is not there.
Oh, that's sad.
There was
Sorry.
one person who said next step.
I love you, one person.
Represent.
Yep. Whoever that person is.
If you're that person and you can prove it, let me know. Maybe you'll get a treat in the mail.
Just let him know, and he'll email you a link to the calendar, and you can buy a calendar because that's.
You have an exclusive opportunity.
We are 2 questions down. The points are 180 to Federico, 110 to Stephen. There's still a lot of points on the line.
Yeah.
Stephen, would you like to take
yeah.
a break, and I'll get us set up for round 3?
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Clean My Mac X. You want to make sure that you can trust your Mac. It's a crucial tool for your work, education, and life. And MacPaw are on a mission to help machines help you, which is why they developed Clean My Mac X, the ideal decluttering app for macOS that can keep it in tip-top shape. Clean My Mac X comes with 49 tools to find and delete invisible computer junk. It helps you to tune up your Mac so it runs at maximum speed. Plus, it organizes disk space, showing you large hidden folders, meaning you can free up tons of space so your Mac never runs into issues with storage again. Clean My Mac X also fights Mac-specific malware and adware, protecting your computer, and it prevents a Mac from cluttering, lagging, and slowing down. Its design is awesome. It's beautiful. There's a new menu bar app now. It really stands out. Last year alone, Clean My Mac was honored with the Red Dot Award, UX Design Award, and has become a Webby Award nominee. And despite the war in MacPaw's home country, Ukraine, the team have worked hard to make sure there are no disruptions in support and development when it comes to their products. Clean My Mac X is stable, safe, and secure. You can get it today with 5% off at macpaw.app/connected. That discount is only valid for 2 weeks, so you want to go to macpaw.app/connected for your 5% off. Our thanks to Clean My Mac X for their support of the show and Relay FM.
All right, so I'm going to go into question 3 now, and for fairness' sake, I'm going to flip the coin, but this time, Federico, you're going to be heads, and Steven's going to be tails.
And now it's going to be tails for sure.
Probably, right?
Heads.
There you go. And you announced it for yourself, too, which is good news. The third question is, what was your first iPhone? And the way that we're going to do this is model numbers are now in play, right? But no color or storage size variations. So remember our tier list, right? All of those iPhones from the tier list.
Okay.
Right?
So the Plus and
collapsed
Max are distinct from the regular sizes.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
What was your first iPhone? Federico, we're going to go over you for the first guess.
First iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
Original iPhone.
The original iPhone is in our top 5 list at number 3, scoring Federico 30 points.
Okay.
I'm going to say the iPhone 3G.
iPhone 3G is the top answer. Steven
Boom.
takes 50 points.
I felt good about that because it was the one that had a much broader sales base. That first iPhone was only in a few countries officially.
Mm-hmm.
So Steven said 3G.
iPhone 3G, yep.
Okay. I'm going to go with 3GS.
The iPhone 3GS is also on the list, scoring Federico 20 points. It is the 4th highest answer.
Mm-hmm.
You are still missing the 2nd and 5th highest answer.
I'm thinking about the iPhone's life cycle. I'm thinking about when were the big ones. Now that we have the early ones out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest sales cycle was the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus. So I'm going to say iPhone 6.
The iPhone 6 is not in the top 5 answers. You get no
Oh,
points.
no.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm going to go with iPhone 4.
The iPhone 4 is the second highest answer,
Yes.
netting 40 points for Federico. I want to just confirm something real quick because I've gotten a little lost in my scoring sheet. Federico, can you remind me the answers that you've given?
Original iPhone.
Yep.
Then
That
I
was
said
the one.
3GS.
That was the one I needed to check. Sorry, yeah. Original iPhone, iPhone
Yeah.
3GS, iPhone 4. Sorry, because it says iPhone, it just threw me off. Like it's hard to match. So yes, Stephen, you got the top answer at iPhone 3G. iPhone 4 was the second highest answer. Federico got that. Third highest answer was iPhone. Federico got that. The fourth highest answer was iPhone 3GS. Federico got that. There is one answer left on the board. Stephen, we go back to you.
I'm going to say first iPhone. I'm going to stay with my thought before, and I'm going to say the iPhone 6 Plus.
iPhone 6 Plus is not in the top 5 answers.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Federico, back to you.
I'm going to do it.
Okay.
I'm going to go with iPhone 10.
iPhone 10 is not in the top 5 answers.
Wow. Okay.
I'm going to go iPhone 5.
iPhone 5 is not in the answers.
All right.
We're going to get one more guess each.
iPhone 4S.
iPhone 4S is the fifth highest answer,
Yes.
netting another 10 points for Federico. So just to run those through again, iPhone 3G was top, then iPhone 4, then iPhone 3GS, and iPhone 4S. Very, very succinct. So it's first 5 iPhones, just in a different order.
Yeah. Or a bunch of early adopters. What, can you round out the list?
You know I can. So obviously we had iPhone 3G, iPhone, then iPhone 4 is in there, whatever. It got after iPhone 4S, you've got iPhone 5, then iPhone 5S, iPhone 6S, iPhone 5C, then
What?
iPhone 7. Yep. And then after the iPhone 7 is the iPhone SE.
So it's a bunch of phones in the beginning and then a bunch of lower cost phones.
Mm-hmm.
I guess
think-
that makes
yeah.
sense.
Yep.
Yeah. Go 5C.
iPhone 10 had 6 people.
Wow.
6 people.
iPhone 13 mini was 1 person. iPhone 11 Pro was 1 person.
All right.
Right.
It is interesting, like, basically
Go
from the
5C.
iPhone 10 onwards, it's all single-digit numbers.
Yeah. I guess that makes sense with like the type of show we are and just what the iPhone has done, right? The big hockey stick growth is over for the phone.
So as we finish the third question, Stephen, you have 160 points. Federico, you have 280 points.
Oh.
That was a
280
real
versus? Can you repeat
160.
that? Okay.
Yeah, that was a real rough round for Stephen there because
Yeah, didn't
Federico
it?
walked away with 100 points to Stephen's 50. But we're moving into another question. And this is, what operating system is the one that you use most today?
Huh.
And again, like the earlier operating system question, I'm looking for the overall OS name, not years, variations, or unique names for OS versions. What operating system is the one that you use most today? Let me get my P-Dice. Ready?
All right.
Federico, your
So
heads.
who's it? I'm heads. Okay.
Joe, it says heads.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, Joe.
Okay. So, Federico,
Okay.
you have the first answer for what is the operating system
Okay.
that you use most today.
I really think it comes down to 2 choices. And it comes down to what you consider use.
Sure does.
Use most today.
Mhm.
I'm going to say iOS.
iOS is the second highest answer.
Yeah.
At
Okay.
40 points for Federico.
All right. Makes sense.
Boy. I just I'm gonna say Mac OS.
macOS is the top answer at 50 points.
Yeah. Yeah. It was either gonna be macOS or iOS, right? Because what I use, like, do I sit on my computer, but also I use my phone a lot. So it was also like the next answers are interesting, I think.
And also, like, I think the interpretation of operating system. I think some people might not even think of it. 46% of people answered macOS, and 35.9% of people was iOS.
So we have the top two.
Top two.
Well, I'm gonna say iPadOS.
iPadOS. Do we have a bunch of people that follow in Federico's footsteps? We do. It is the fourth highest answer, giving Federico 20 points.
Yeah.
That was 6.5% of people. So we have the third and fifth highest answer left on the board.
I'm going to say Windows.
Windows is the third highest answer for Stephen, getting him 30 points. So we have just the final answer on the board. Federico, we go to you.
I'm gonna get weird, I think. And I'm gonna say watchOS.
Okay, so someone did answer this. I couldn't believe it. There was one person that said it. Obviously, this does not get you the fifth highest answer. Like Stephen, I will petition for this person to contact me because I need to understand you as a human being a little bit. you watchOS? Like, well, you just like you have a phone and you just never use it? Like, very confusing.
You're Kyle's the Great. You're always using your watch.
Somebody answered watchOS. Stephen, fifth highest answer is still in play.
So we have macOS, iOS,
Windows, iPadOS.
Windows. I'm going to say... See, it's hard. I'm going to say Android just due to its size.
Yeah? No. Android had 10 answers. 10 people said Android.
Okay.
Does not put it on the list.
Going
to give you one more guess each.
Well, okay. Okay, let's say that there's a bunch of programmers in our audience. I'm going to say a variation of Linux.
Linux is the fifth highest answer, netting Federico another 10 points. So Linux was 1.4%. We also had Chrome OS. One person gave Chrome OS. There was one person who gave watchOS, 10 people that gave iPad. There were only, how many total? There were 8 total operating systems that were given. So outside of the top 5, which were macOS, iOS, Windows, iPadOS, and Linux, we then also had Android, watchOS, and Chrome OS. At the end of that round, Federico has 350 points. Stephen has 240 points.
350 to 40. Okay.
We have one last question for today. The question is, which computer do you use? Again, these are product classes, not model years, sizes, or variations within a model or by processor or anything like that. So similar to the way that we answered the first Apple product question.
Yeah, but like, what is a computer?
Yeah.
One person said that. I deleted their answer from the list because it's not a funny joke. You said it. Zach put it in the Discord. Someone put it in the thing. And I don't know. I was like 3/4 of the way through manually checking 1,200 responses and, funny answers. I don't want them, Don't want them. So that one just, boop, straight delete. Steven, you're going to be heads.
Okay.
Oh, that one had to reflip.
It's tails.
Oh, that
Yes.
sounds so creepy. James is so creepy. So, Federico, you get the first ability to answer the question, which computer do you use?
Do you use
Which computer do you use?
today or the most? No, just which computer do you use?
Exactly. Which computer do you use?
And we want product classes,
Mm-hmm.
but not years.
Not years, not models. I don't want sizes or anything like that.
All right. MacBook Pro.
50 points, top answer, goes to Federico.
Yeah.
This surprised me because it was 48%.
Nice.
And I just found that interesting that it was the top answer because I don't, I think this is a disproportionate audience, right, to what's actually out there in the world. So, Steven?
MacBook Air.
MacBook Air is the second highest answer. That gets Steven 40 points.
iMac.
iMac is the third highest answer. That gets Federico 30 points.
Mac Mini.
Mac Mini is the fourth highest answer, getting Steven 20 points. Can you see my sheet now? Are we doing an accidental screen share? You've just gone like boom, 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 boom through all of them. So there's one left on the board.
Yeah. I'm torn between two.
There's only two left.
Well,
No, there's
I
one
guess that's
left.
not true.
There's one left.
well,
No?
well.
There's
There's
one
at
left.
least two
one
left.
No, I mean in terms of options. I'm
Oh.
torn between two options. I'm gonna say iPad.
iPad is not the fifth highest answer.
Okay.
So my thought is we have
Just to clarify, did you split between iPad and iPad Pro?
Did I?
Oh, damn it.
I mean, I can't answer that
Okay.
question right now.
Okay.
I'll answer that
Damn it.
question afterwards.
Okay, yeah. Oh, I should have said that. Okay.
I was thinking in the Mac line we have Mac Studio, Mac Pro, maybe the MacBook left. We have the Apple II, I guess. Maybe those people are still hanging out. But the iPad. So Federico said iPad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Should have said
All right,
that.
I'm gonna play dirty and say iPad Pro.
Steven? That is not in the top 5 answers. That is not the final answer. iPad Pro did not make it in the list.
I don't know why you're laughing, iPad boy.
Yes. No, well, I'm happy because I tricked you into believing that you had it an easy one on your plate.
Okay.
Okay. Then I'm gonna go with, again, there's likely a few developers in the audience, Mac Pro.
That is not the final answer.
Huh. Okay. Interesting.
What you got, Steven?
Mac Studio.
Mac Studio is not the final answer. You're going to get one more guess each now.
Yeah, I'm gonna just say a PC. A
Final
Windows PC.
Answer is custom built PC.
Yeah.
Federico will take the 10 points.
Okay. Yeah.
So the top 5 answers were MacBook Pro, MacBook Air, iMac, Mac Mini, custom built PC. Going on from there, so custom built PC was 2%. There was also, we had, I said Mac Mini. Mac Studio came in just under the PC. iPad Pro was actually just over that. 38 people used the iPad Pro. 34 people use a Mac Studio. It was 43 who said some variation of a custom-built PC.
That
There was
is close.
also 23 Dells, 15 HPs, 4 Asus laptops, 1 Linux desktop, 1 Razer Blade. There was 1 Samsung Chromebook. 11 people used a Surface. One person used a Pixelbook. 7
Wow.
people are still holding on to the MacBook.
Yeah.
Nice.
Wow.
5 on a
Go
Mac Pro.
MacBook.
Okay.
16 people use some version of a Lenovo ThinkPad.
Hey, if I ran
Nice.
Windows, I'd buy a ThinkPad.
There were 9 iMac Pros still in use. I did count the iMac Pros separate to the iMac. It felt like that was the
As
right
a
thing to
quick aside,
do. Mm-mm.
I'm not sure there's a modern computer that makes me sadder than the iMac Pro because it was so good and now it's so gone.
It was just one of them too. I think that's the
Just-
saddest part. But they never even they didn't touch it.
One and done, baby.
So that is the end of round 1 of the connected quiz. The points stand thusly. In this round, 300 points to Stephen, 440 points to Federico. So if we
Nice.
go over to the overall scoring now, Stephen is at 312, Federico is at 451.
Okay. Taking the lead, baby. Here we
There
go.
will be, in the future, 3 more rounds of Do You Know the Passionate Ones. I cannot tell you when they will occur.
Okay.
That is the end of my quiz for today.
All right. Thank you, Myke, and thank you, passionate ones.
Yeah, thank you for playing.
For
And
your
Passionate
service.
Ones, thank you for participating, except the person who said, "What's a computer?" You do not get my thanks.
Except you.
Except
And
that person.
thank you, Craig Federighi, for answering Next Step as your operating system
Of
when you
choice.
were, of choice. Yeah.
This episode of Connected is made possible by Memberful. Memberful is the easiest way to sell memberships to your audience used by the biggest creators on the web. Generate sustainable, recurring income while diversifying your revenue stream. You've heard us talk about the Relay membership program. It is built atop Memberful, and it has been since day one many years ago. They make it super easy for us to generate extra revenue streams for all of our hosts and deliver bonus content to all of our members through podcasts, newsletters, and more. One of my favorite things is the integration Memberful has with other products, other platforms. So if you use Discord as a member, that's all through Memberful. And for us, managing it was really easy to set up and to maintain. Maybe you're already producing content and relying on advertising. Well, Memberful makes it easy to diversify that income with a membership program. They give you all the tools you need, including custom branding, gift subscriptions, Apple Pay support, free trials, private podcast feeds, and tons more. What's really important to me is Memberful leaves you as the creator in full control and ownership of everything that relates to your audience, your brand, and your membership. If you're a content creator, Memberful can help you monetize your passion. Get started for free at memberful.com/connected. There's no credit card required. That's memberful.com/connected. Go there now to check it out. It could be the start of something really exciting. Our thanks to Memberful for their support of the show and Relay FM.
So it's that time of year, which means that Federico Fetici is preparing and or working on the iOS review. So I wanted to kind of set the stage for connected listeners to kind of understand where you are right now. I'll tell you a few things I want to know. I want to know if you're continuing with Obsidian. I know you are struggling in the beta to actually get the thing to work. I want to know how you're feeling right now. And I also want to know if you're putting any kind of restrictions in place before you start the full writing. Like, are you limiting yourself in any way?
Mm-hmm.
These are some things I want to know.
Yeah, so I'm using Obsidian. I'm continuing to use Obsidian. I have tried to look elsewhere. And the short answer is that there's nothing else on the market right now that allows me to work as efficiently as Obsidian does. Just the things that I'm doing in terms of splitting my work between research, so notes, technical documentation, notes that I take during WWDC sessions, and in the same app, having the actual writing material for the chapters of the review. There's nothing else that lets me easily link back and forth and see backlinks. I mentioned this, I think, on App Stories and here before, but really seeing the backlinks for me, it possibly is even more important than just doing the internal linking. When I'm writing a chapter, being able to see, hey, you're writing the design chapter, this chapter is referenced in these other notes. Like, that is so valuable to me because it allows me to jump back and forth between the actual chapter that I will publish on the website and my private notes from either PDF documents that I saved from Apple's website or notes that I took during sessions. So having that two-way street between notes and the writing material is essential. And plus, Obsidian lets me create my own plugins. And so I am working once again, after making last year a plugin to help me with the table of contents and markdown generation of the review. This year, we're trying to make a plugin happen that will help me with screenshots, with image attachments. We're trying to speed up my work in terms of saving screenshots and turning those temporary screenshots into actual uploaded images on the Mac Stories CDN. And Obsidian lets me do all this, right? So there's nothing else, even with the bugs that I've seen on iPadOS. Actually, I gotta check if Beta 3 fixes that, but I'm continuing to use that and I'm continuing to build on top of last year's system. If anything, I'm gonna make it better.
Can I ask you a question about the screenshots thing? Because I want to see.
Yeah.
Is it that like you can add the screenshots in line in the Obsidian document and then they get uploaded in the background?
What I want to do is I want to be able to add screenshots in line.
Yeah.
And so when I say in line, those will be local images, local in my file system. At some point, once I confirm that all those screenshots are okay to use for production, I will want a script that runs through an entire chapter and local image by local image turns each one into a public PNG link
Right.
to the Mac Stories CDN. I used to do this manually, one by one, and I'm tired of doing that. So,
But like in your Obsidian file, like you're writing and you just add an image, and the image you can see it. Is that
yes, I can see it.
And then you continue writing, and then the idea will be that like it's doing them in the background. And I'm sure you then lay it out differently, right? Like using whatever it is that you do for your templates for the review itself. But the idea is it returns that link and just puts it there, so you can have everything visual, so you can be writing around the visuals. And I can understand how that would not just speed up the process, but also just like make more sense visually to you as you're writing.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
Really cool, man.
Yes.
I can see why you like Obsidian.
But speaking of that, you mentioned deadlines and you mentioned the special layouts.
Yeah.
For reasons that will be clear soon enough, I think, time is very constrained for me this summer. And as it stands right now, I don't think I will have the time to give the review a special layout this year, unfortunately. My previous designer went to work at Apple, so obviously they cannot work with them anymore. And I don't think, unfortunately, that given the things that we have going on at home right now, I don't think I will have not just the bandwidth, but like the actual time to deal with that. Speaking of that, the review will have, I really wanted this to be true. Last year, if you remember, I said that the review was 30% shorter than the previous year. And I told you guys that the goal was to do that again. So another 30% shorter than the previous year. That will need to be true. It's just not that I want to. It'll have to be true because otherwise the review is not going to happen. Again, given the time constraints that I have, and it's all good things, we haven't shared them online yet. But given that I'm busy with the family, given that I'm busy at home, the review will need to be a shorter review. much more on the conversational side, much more on the perspective of the user rather than the developer. Obviously, you know me, I'm still going to focus on the details, but I'm not going to, again, we had this conversation last year. Most people don't care and don't enjoy reading about developer frameworks or APIs
Hello.
or really,
Hello.
you know.
Yeah.
So less B coverage this year.
Yes, let's be coverage. So the review will have to be a shorter review that I will write in a more compressed environment, time-wise, I think later in the summer, once things settle down.
What does 30% shorter actually mean? Like in numbers, like what does that roughly mean?
I think we're talking something in the range of 30 to 40,000 words.
Okay.
30 to 35 would be excellent. Because realistically speaking, if I'm inspired, if I know what I'm doing, I can put together a 30,000 word story, which also it's still a massive story, by the way. Like no one else is doing, those kinds of reviews anymore. But it means that I will need to be smart about like having separate articles during the summer on Mac Stories about features that I will not cover in my iOS review. And those that I will cover, I will need to, you know me, I like to talk, I like to write. If given the opportunity, I would just go on forever, But that's not going to be possible this year. So I will, realistically speaking, I will start writing stuff very soon, even this week. And you're going to start seeing articles, preview articles for separate features, standalone. Like we do this every summer on Mac Stories. I guess starting, at some point in July. And I think in August is when I will put in the majority of the work for the review. Again, not having the special design, as much as it, honestly, it sucks. I'm just going to say it sucks because I really care about this stuff. I guess I don't know, it's the energy of finding a motion designer, finding a 3D artist. I just don't have the time. If you are one of those people and you know what I'm talking about in terms of the iOS and iPadOS reviews that I do, get in touch with me, please. But just if I have to seek out myself someone and spend time explaining what I'm looking for, I don't have the time for that.
Yeah.
But I'm open to emails, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. If you've seen the kinds of intro animations that Federico's had before, and you're
and the special images,
yeah, and you're like, they're amazing, or I can do that. Email him.
Yeah, or you can do better, Like, please get in touch. But at the moment, I don't have anybody, and I don't have time to go look for anybody myself. And yeah, so that's where I'm at right now. I know I have the chapters. I know the structure of the review. I know which stories we're gonna have in the summer on the site, and it's just a matter of spending less time thinking about the work. Thankfully, I got Obsidian set up. This is also part of the reason why I don't want to use anything else. I have a system that I trust that lets me save time. I'm going to keep using that because I don't have time to switch. I don't have time to redo everything else. Also, I don't need to. It works well enough. And the rest of the review will keep building on top of the style that I almost think we collectively decided on the show last year that was better for everybody, better for me, better for the readers, which is detailed but approachable.
Yeah,
that's what I'm going for.
It's more of a conversation than a lecture.
Yeah, but also because ultimately, I want to make people happy.
Yeah.
I want to make myself happy with the work I produce, but I want to make people happy. Like I want to make something that is enjoyable, and so striking that detailed but approachable, friendly, and enjoyable is challenging. But I think I can make it happen, and I will need to make it happen. So we'll see how it goes.
You got this. I'm looking forward to picking up with you in a few more weeks' time, and we'll see where you're going once the real down in the weeds. I'm assuming like at this point you've been like watching videos, taking notes, all that kind of stuff, right? Like that's kind of where you've been.
Yeah. And also like trying to use it. You know, use iOS and iPadOS as much as for regular work. Like that's the most important part. Like just let me use it, and then I will write.
All right, take us home, Stephen.
If you want to find links to stuff we spoke about on this episode, they're in your podcast player, but they're also out on the web at relay.fm/connected/405. While you're there, you can send us an email with feedback or follow-up. You can also join and get Connected Pro, which is a longer ad-free version of the show each and every week. This week I talked about my recent vacation, and then Federico and I blew Mike's mind with a very deep conversation about life, what it means to be a person. Mm-hmm. You can find us all online. You can find Federico on Twitter at Viticci, Viticci, and he's the editor-in-chief of MacStories.net. You can follow Myke online as IMYKE. Myke hosts a bunch of other shows here on Relay FM. You can find me on Twitter as ISMH and my writing over at 512pixels.net. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week. They are Squarespace, Hover, Clean My Mac X, and Memberful. Big thanks to them for making the show possible. Thank you for listening, and until next week, guys, say goodbye.
Arrivederci.
Cheerio.
Bye, y'all.